Um, well, Griff, must be a pretty positive mood in the camp after last week's romp eventually.
Yeah, it is. You know, it was a difficult few days all told, but we reacted pretty professionally to it. We kept our focus, played within some good structures, and when it became unstructured we were comfortable. So we've got to take these aspects of learning today and a focus that we've got to get for the home return, in terms of not being complacent and trying to keep the momentum of where we are in this competition and into the next.
Yeah, was the hotel and the travel arrangements most difficult bit of last week's venture?
Yeah, it was, but look, I mean, we're paid well for what we do. We're in a privileged position as Ospreys. You've just got to get on with it and react to certain things. But the players in particular, they regrouped. They had this gallows humour around the place, and they just get on with it, and then they press the reset button, and off they went in terms of the rugby itself.
So what's the message then in terms of avoiding complacency?
Just setting certain aspects of our play that we control and what we're doing on our terms. You don't put necessarily any KPIs on this type of game, but there is a mindset around performance and what we do within our structures, and things then, the 3 or 4 learnings that we'll take from the Grenoble away, trying to improve those aspects about being more effective around the contact area, and some of our defensive positional play, and how again we marry up our attacking consistency with our defensive game, because when we get it right, as 4 defensive turnovers to try shows, we're some handful.
Absolutely, you can't stop Keelan Giles making headlines, can you?
No, we can't, and as I said, we all know there's a fantastic talent there, but let's pay due credit to everyone else in the squad there who've put a fine team effort together. 6 other scorers there, and it's a collective, and everyone has their great moments, and Keelan in particular, but everyone has their areas that we're trying to drive them to be better on, and certainly Keelan will have some learning from last weekend too.
And David Howell's also getting into the try-scoring mode as well.
Yeah, likewise. I think we've had a healthy spread in terms of wingers scoring tries this year. Those two have had obviously recent numbers, but prior to that, people like Jeff, Eli, Tom O'Flaherty around the Anglo-Welsh and Glasgow, we've got a style of play that we want to try and get to the edge, and those boys are finishing well from us. So we're blessed there. But again, there's more than just try scoring around what we're coaching here and what we expect from these players in the wide channels, both offensively and in particular defensively.
David Howells was a Welsh cap before most people had heard of him almost. Is he almost back up there in contention, do you think, at the moment? Or has he got somewhere? I
don't know. I mean, we've got our own mind in terms of what these guys have got to work on. Obviously, I'm pleased he made a breakthrough for us last year, starting the Exeter Champions Cup game. That was a big moment for him, albeit an unfortunate day that he had to come off with a bad injury. So that, sort of curtailed last season. But he's had a good summer with us, and that's often key around some of these young athletes. He's 3-4 seasons prior, because of age group and the national duties in 2013, he's never had a pre-season. So you see the benefits of that coming down the line into the season now with someone like Dav, albeit again someone who's got to take on a fair bit of learning around some of the running lines, and in terms of some of our backfield work, we were pretty shoddy at times last week too.
In terms of your wingers, can you keep them all on board for next season? It'd be quite some choice if they're ever all fit at the same time.
I'd hope so. In terms of the backline numbers, I'm always looking for the dynamism of athletes. We haven't always been blessed as we are now, not just the players we're talking about, but players coming through the system. Some of our Premiership boys who've been playing, the big players as well. Tom Flaherty's going well. Jay Baker scores a hat-trick. There's not guys not just pushing the boys for playing at the top level at the moment, but even within that, there's hopefully a nice sort of progression coming towards next year as well.
Looking at this week then, what's the thinking in terms of selection? Do you rest some of your big guns for this one?
Yeah, there'll definitely be a big aspect of rotation. There'll certainly be a healthy share of players who played last weekend will figure again, and I think when you look at the maths of it around the registration for European squads, you have to have that degree of consistency anyway. But we are mindful of what comes next, whilst still challenging a group of players to pick up a good result on the weekend. But I think there's certainly going to be a healthy aspect of rotation, and players again who need their load to be managed.
Yeah, can you give us some of the names who might be rested this weekend?
People like Alan Wynne and Justin Tiprick, they get their week off this week, so they certainly won't be in the mix. and there'll be probably a couple of others who will debate probably after training today, see how they pull up and see how some of the fringe and injured players come through as well.
Because if you win this one, it'll be virtually job done, won't it?
I don't know, I think perhaps the win of Lyon Newcastle may have a share in the pool, but we'll just focus on ourselves, what we can get from it, and quickly hopefully park this week and use it as a springboard for the league games as well. And that's been the theme of the year. We're trying to be as competitive around all the competitions we play in, but trying to help the bigger picture in the league also. Is
there a desire now to be top seed, to ensure a home quarter-final and potentially a home semi-final and so on?
I'm not going to lie, you do sniff those sort of opportunities the way we start, and I think we'll see, hopefully put ourselves in a good position Saturday, and then we can review it again for our selections in January. But it has been around just giving opportunities to the group, resting, rotating certain players. We did that for Lyon away, and it was great to see a strong Lyon side that we put away from home, and we've got to sort of keep that sort of faith and trust that we've got in the squad, because it has reaped benefits through the last 12-18 months where we've had to show faith in others, but now doing it around this competition has given us a bit of breathing room.
Without wanting to denigrate any of your efforts, is there almost disappointment that some of the French sides don't field stronger teams in this competition? Because we saw, for example, La Rochelle gave it a really good go away to Gloucester, and it was a really good contest. Maybe it's credit to you that hasn't happened in a couple of your games.
Yeah, I think Lyon, only probably rotated a few for the home game for us, so that was a big challenge when we rotated more perhaps, but you can't control it. We just got to get on with what we're doing. We're enjoying it per se, and I think it's helping us in terms of the long run. I think it is something that perhaps has to be looked at, down the line in terms of the way the competition's run and what it stands for and what teams can gain from it. That's probably what interests the French more than anything. But as I said, we'll take it as it is, and keep the momentum going on this competition into the other one, where obviously we're trying to just push on all fronts.
Are you talking about maybe automatic qualification from the Challenge Cup for the Champions Cup? Would that be the sort of incentive that you're talking about there?
I think that, and I think there's got to be a debate around league placings and how each league operates, but I think there's probably a bigger picture around the calendar and who does what where. I mean, and that's far above my range.
We've talked about opportunities for players to go on and play for Wales. Has there been any suggestion that you might be one of those called upon next summer?
Was that myself?
Yeah. For the Wales tour?
I'm highly unlikely, I guess. I mean, I had a chat with Rob prior to November, to be fair to Rob, and to be fair, he spoke that I've got the ability and understanding to be able to coach internationally, but I didn't fit for whatever reason going into the autumn. And you get disappointed as a coach, you have the same ambitions, but I'm privileged to do what I do for a region and a group of players I adore coaching, and people I enjoy working with, and what I represent around the fans and people who support us. So you just, like players, you just do what you can and just get on with your job.
Perfect. What factors govern your selection of fly half at the moment? Is it game on, game off?
No, for us it's probably the perception of which player fits the challenge for the forthcoming week, and obviously we're blessed with two highly elite outside halves, and we enjoy having them both in the squad, and they obviously both got on the field last weekend, and that dynamic presents its own little opportunity as well. But in terms of selection, it's what fits opposition and little themes around our week, and how we often tweak from week to week as well around just evolution of game plan.
Are they both happy with that?
Seemingly, they're obviously pushing each other, they're thriving on the internal competition, and they're pretty close as people, but they're reacting well to the feedback that we're trying to give them. We're trying to challenge them both to be as good as they can be. Dan Bigger is someone obviously for a fair while, has got huge credibility, has proved himself at the highest level, but is banging my door out. What do I want? How can I make him better? What do I perceive his game to be, and how can we actually improve on certain aspects? And we've commented for a while that Sam has been in that mould, because he's been constant with us for the last 2-3 years, to understand what we want from him and how he's going to do it.
I guess there's a huge selection call for Christmas, the Scarlet scheme.
Yeah, maybe, but it's 1 of 3 for us, and as I said, we'll probably look at it and who will fit the Scarlets, may not necessarily fit a few days down the line for the Dragons. And as I said, we've got huge opportunity with a squad of 23 to be able to manage our midfield and back 3 and perhaps drop players in and out.
Your injuries, Griff, anyone coming back this week?
Hanno is well in the mix, just want to see how he reacts to training today. If not for the senior side, well for the big sides, he'll certainly be getting game time this week. Tyler might be thereabouts, but again, he's another one who's going to have a good afternoon of team rugby coming up to back up what he's done with the forwards today.
What do these guys bring? What do they bring, Tyler, Hanno?
Hanno brings a pretty robust attitude in terms of the carrying game. Obviously on the blend of back 3 players, I do like a power winger, and we've seen some of Haster's work in the past, but Hanno also complements that. Seeing where he was running into some great run of form last year prior to Exeter. He scored a great try down in Exeter but got injured, so missed a large chunk. I felt he was coming back at the back end of the year. Judgment Day, he was bang on top of his form, but again, another injury. But he's got the mindset to want to cause carnage, and I think he's probably seeing a lot of wingers get on the score sheet and getting a bit frustrated, but that'll get his juices flowing. He wants to get out there and have his own little moments as well. So, that's a mindset that, is really strong with him, as well as, some of the nitty-gritty of the game, the chasing game, the aerial game. You get an abundance of attitude around that.
Are places there to be claimed for that Scarlets game this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think, as I said, there's a couple of little conundrums we have, from week to week, but we certainly haven't put anything set in stone for the Scarlets. It's about respecting Grenoble. You never know, they'll travel, but they might say, sod it, we'll go fully loaded and have a good crack after last week's end experience. So we'll be as prepared for this week as we can, and then, then we've got to, put our work in for the Scarlets afterwards, but not before.
Final question, okay guys, because Chris Grenoble.
Who does it suit going into that Scarlets game? Them having a couple of tough games against Toulon, 1 defeat so far, or you being able to rest players and having a slightly easier time of it?
You can sell it either way in terms of players, how you manage the training load. Obviously we're getting the benefit of perhaps some players resting up this week, but we've seen before that high-end physical games, albeit it can challenge you down the line, around this window they can be hugely beneficial, and I think the Scarlets playing nigh on international rugby down in France last weekend means that we're going to have to create some situations in training that gives us that degree of pressure next week, and that'll be tempered having reviewed Saturday's game and see what we get from there. But it's how you manage not just that training week but this and the one after as well. There's a lot of games coming thick and fast, so it's not just about trying to perhaps speak for Scarlets and vice versa. There's a lot going on around these games.